Number 8. Justin Murdoch. After attending a Halloween party on October the 29th of 2021, Justin Murdoch and his girlfriend, model Talia Skye, returned to the former's Los Angeles mansion. The 49-year-old billionaire heir, whose father formerly served as the CEO of the Dole food company, got into a heated argument with Skye after she'd allegedly demanded they leave the party early. As tensions escalated, Skye texted a friend of hers to come pick her up, expressing concern that Murdoch might try to physically harm her. When the friend arrived at the home, she reportedly found Skye crying while lying on the driveway. The woman picked Skye up off the ground, whereupon she noticed that the model's eye was badly swollen and bruised. Murdoch maintained that Skye had inflicted the black eye to herself, but she would later report being punched by her boyfriend to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. The following morning, officers were sent to Murdoch's residence to arrest him for the alleged assault. In early 2022, it was reported that the billionaire had posted his $50,000 bail and was awaiting a court appearance scheduled for March. Number 7. Henry T. Nicholas III. Henry T. Nicholas III, whose Fortune 500 company, Broadcom, had helped him amass an estimated net worth of $5.7 billion, was arrested on suspicion of drug trafficking in August of 2018. Police officers reportedly found what appeared to be bags filled with various illegal substances in Nicholas's Las Vegas hotel room. At the scene, law enforcement also came upon the man's girlfriend, Ashley Fargo, unconscious and with a partially deflated balloon in her mouth. Paramedics at the scene revived the woman, and it was later determined that the balloon and other canisters found around the room had been filled with nitrous oxide, which is commonly referred to as laughing gas. Earlier on the night of his arrest, Nicholas had reportedly been unable to enter his room at the Encore Hotel on the Las Vegas Strip. He solicited the help of security personnel who took notice of the suspicious-looking containers and unconscious woman in the 59-year-old tech billionaire's room. It was then that hotel security contacted local police and officers were dispatched to the scene. Nicholas later entered an Alford plea, which in the United States is a guilty plea under which the defendant doesn't admit to committing the alleged criminal act. As part of his deal with prosecutors, Nicholas agreed to donate $1 million to a drug rehabilitation program, attend counseling, and perform 250 hours of community service. The judge presiding over his case agreed to dismiss all of the charges if Nicholas fulfilled each of the plea deal's conditions. Number 6. Theo Kangdong. On August 31st of 2018, the billionaire founder of the Beijing-based e-commerce website JD.com was arrested in Minneapolis, Minnesota, following allegations that he had abused a female college student. On the night prior to his arrest, Theo Kangdong had accompanied the victim back to her apartment after the two had attended a dinner party together. It was there that the alleged assault occurred. Theo was released from custody pending further investigation, at which point he returned to Beijing. In April of 2019, Theo's accuser filed a civil lawsuit against him and JD.com, in which she sought more than $50,000 in damages. The incident marked the second time that the internet entrepreneur had been linked to an assault investigation. In 2015, Theo had hosted a social gathering at his penthouse in Sydney, Australia, during the course of which one of his guests forced himself on a woman and had non-consensual intercourse with her. Theo made efforts to keep his name out of the court records in connection to the incident. He was ultimately identified as the host of the dinner party in question, but wasn't criminally charged or accused of any wrongdoing. Number 5. Tom Barrack. California investment mogul Tom Barrack was taken into custody in July of 2021, following allegations that he'd acted as an agent of the United Arab Emirates and then lied about it to federal investigators. The 74-year-old billionaire was the founder and executive chairman of the publicly traded investment firm Colony Capital, and he'd also served as the chair of former US President Donald Trump's inaugural committee. As was detailed in Barrack's federal indictments, he'd worked as an advisor to the royal family of Saudi Arabia during the 1970s. Upon being elevated to a high-ranking position in the president's camp, Barrack allegedly exploited his political influence in an attempt to manipulate US foreign policy decisions to directly benefit his associates in the Middle East. It was reported that Barrack had continued his criminal activities from April of 2016 until April of 2019. He and 2 others ultimately faced charges of acting and conspiring to act as agents of the United Arab Emirates, obstructing justice, and making false statements to law enforcement. Barrack was released from custody on a $250 million secured bond while awaiting his case's legal proceedings. Number 4. Aly David. Aly David's considerable fortune soared into the billions after his family-owned business, Leventis David Group, had finalized a partnership with Coca-Cola that extended to 28 countries. In 2017, the self-described billionaire heir became the focus of a lawsuit that stemmed from his alleged misconduct towards a former female employee at his company. In the end, David was ordered to pay $11 million in damages to the plaintiff, who'd accused him of firing her after she'd refused his advances. 2 years later, David was on the receiving end of a formal complaint filed by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The agency claimed that he'd solicited investments from the public that were obtained through unlawful offerings. David was also alleged to have misrepresented the nature of his business's financial situation and, in so doing, violated the Securities Act of 1933. He was consequently ordered to pay $100,000 in fines. Later in 2019, it was reported that David had been arrested at the Robert L. Bradshaw International Airport on the Caribbean island of St. Kitts and Nevis. The authorities had allegedly discovered nearly 5,000 illegal cannabis plants on David's private jet, which were valued at about $1.3 million in total. Although he was accused of trying to smuggle the plants into the country, David maintained that he was transporting them to the Caribbean with the intention of starting a legitimate cannabis business. In a 2021 interview with the Daily Beast, David claimed to have been completely drained of his cash resources following several judgments levied against him in various lawsuits. He also admitted that although he'd previously maintained that he was a billionaire and was reported as such by multiple prominent news outlets, these claims had actually been a complete fiction on his part. Number 3. Nirav Modi. In February of 2018, Indian authorities launched an official probe into the financial affairs of billionaire diamond dealer Nirav Modi. The country's Central Bureau of Investigation had set their inquiry in motion after receiving a complaint from the Punjab National Bank, with the institution alleging that Modi and his business partners had defrauded it out of approximately $2 billion. It was discovered that Modi had collaborated with officials at the bank itself, who'd helped him fraudulently obtain letters of undertaking that he then used to make payments to overseas suppliers for his company. Following the discovery of the fraud conspiracy, India issued an Interpol red notice for the billionaire's arrest. In June of 2018, it was reported that Modi was in the UK, where he was applying for political asylum. In March of the following year, London's Metropolitan Police announced that they'd arrested Modi on behalf of Indian officials, and an order for his extradition was later authorized by a UK court. Modi, who was once ranked by Forbes as India's 85th richest man with an estimated net worth of $1.8 billion, was forced to apply for bankruptcy protection after his criminal allegations proved detrimental to his firm, Firestar Diamond Inc. Modi tried to appeal his extradition to India, but his application was rejected in June of 2021. Number 2. Ramon Abbas. In the summer of 2020, a Nigerian Instagram influencer known by the alias Hush Puppy was investigated for his alleged involvement in an intricate cyber scam. 38-year-old Ramon Abbas, the man behind the Hush Puppy persona, had amassed an online following of over 2 million by flaunting his lavish lifestyle on social media. He regularly posted pictures of himself with luxury cars, designer clothes, and private jets in an effort to uphold his claims of being a self-made billionaire. In June of 2020, however, reports surfaced that Abbas's Dubai apartment had been raided by FBI agents and that the influencer was facing a litany of criminal charges. The authorities seized over $37 million in cash and several of the Instagram star's high-end vehicles during their descent on his residence. In an arrest affidavit, investigators claimed that Abbas's opulent billionaire lifestyle was the result of an elaborate fraud perpetrated by him working alongside 12 accomplices. The 13 suspects allegedly used multiple phones and computers to fabricate websites for well-known companies and financial institutions, which they subsequently used to obtain people's credit card information. After stealing money from their unsuspecting victims, Abbas and his associates were said to have laundered the funds, which totaled hundreds of millions of dollars. Abbas reportedly pleaded guilty to his charges in 2021, and he was scheduled to be sentenced in July of 2022. Stick around after number 1 if you'd also like to watch our release about when mugshot models go wrong still. It's coming right up. Number 1. Robert Durst. Prior to his death in January of 2022, billionaire real estate magnate Robert Durst had been a suspect in 3 separate murder investigations. His first wife, Kathleen McCormack, disappeared in early 1982, and Durst was immediately identified as a person of interest. Suspicion notably arose from the fact that the missing woman had previously accused him of physically assaulting her during arguments. 8 years after McCormack's disappearance, Durst filed for divorce, claiming spousal abandonment. The case remained unsolved for decades, and in 2016, the woman's family petitioned for her to be declared legally dead, a request that was granted the following year. In December of 2000, Durst's longtime friend, Susan Berman, was found dead at her Los Angeles residence after suffering gunshot wounds that were consistent with an execution-style killing. It was determined that Durst had been in California at the time of Berman's murder and had flown to New York the night before her body was discovered. Although the billionaire was briefly questioned by detectives in connection to his friend's death, he wasn't immediately charged. Shortly before Berman's murder, the authorities had reopened their investigation into McCormack's disappearance. It prompted Durst to go into hiding in Galveston, Texas, reportedly disguising himself as a mute woman to avoid police detection. In October of 2001, Durst was arrested after body parts belonging to his next-door neighbor, Morris Black, were found floating in Galveston Bay. The billionaire was charged with murder and posted bail, but he then fled to Pennsylvania, where he was eventually taken back into custody and further charged with bail jumping. In the 2003 trial associated with Black's murder, Durst was ultimately acquitted. He would, however, go on to serve the next 3 years in prison after being convicted on 2 counts of bail jumping and 1 count of evidence tampering. Then in 2015, he faced another murder charge after investigators had finally identified him as the perpetrator of Berman's killing roughly 15 years earlier. On October the 14th of 2021, Durst was sentenced to life imprisonment for the murder. Shortly thereafter, he was also charged in connection to his first wife's disappearance, which had been reclassified as a murder. The case never made it to trial as Durst went into cardiac arrest and died at the San Joaquin General Hospital in Stockton, California, at the age of 78. On May the 10th of 2018 in Marion County, Florida, teenager Cheyenne Kroll was stopped at a traffic light in a 2017 Hyundai Elantra, in which her mother, Sandra Clarkston, was a passenger. Anjanette Missette came up from behind at high speed and plowed her Chevrolet Avalanche into the back of the Elantra. The latter vehicle was launched forward into a trailer carrying horses, but neither the vehicle's driver nor the animals were hurt. Kroll survived the crash, but Clarkston, who'd celebrated her 60th birthday the previous day, was left in critical condition. She died at the Ocala Regional Medical Center on May the 14th. Missette was found to be more than twice over the legal drink driving limit and taken into custody in the accident's immediate aftermath. Her booking photo showed Missette, who also went by her maiden name Wilk, posing for the camera with a wide smile on her face. It went viral and sparked outrage from Clarkston's family, given the fact that Missette seemed in high spirits in spite of causing the fatal accident. During her court appearance, she tearfully apologized to the victim's family and admitted that she had a drinking problem. In May of 2019, she pleaded no contest to DUI manslaughter and 2 counts of DUI with property damage. The 45-year-old was sentenced to 11 years in prison and 4 years of probation. Number 9. Megan McCulla. In July of 2010, Florida woman Megan McCulla went out drinking in Tampa with a friend and reportedly had no intention of driving. The 27-year-old did eventually get behind the wheel and headed home after her companion had decided to leave with her boyfriend. McCulla was subsequently arrested on DUI charges and had her photo taken in an orange jumpsuit. Once online, Her mugshot bounced around several websites until it was made into a meme and uploaded to Reddit on April the 23rd, 2013. The post received thousands of upvotes and hundreds of comments within 48 hours. 27-year-old McCulla's mugshot was made into many other attractive convict memes, effectively turning her into an internet sensation roughly 3 years after her arrest. Countless admirers reacted to the photo with humor, curiosity, or declarations of love. McCulla, a mother of 4, spoke to the media in the aftermath of her newfound fame to say that the photo had been taken while she was drunk and after she'd been crying. She claimed, "I don't think it's that good a picture. There are other ones I would prefer." Number 8. Andrea Espinosa. Law enforcement in Boise, Idaho, was flagged down by a man in late December of 2014. Moments earlier, he'd spotted a woman identified as 25-year-old Andrea Espinosa walking alone on the side of the road. He'd asked her if she was all right, at which point she reportedly jumped into his car and told him to drive. The man decided to alert the police instead, but as he was drawing officers' attention, Espinosa got behind the wheel of his vehicle and tried to flee. She was stopped by an officer who then went to remove her from the driver's seat. Espinosa struck the officer in the face with a closed fist and then kneed him in the thigh while she was being transferred to the police cruiser. Espinosa, who reportedly seemed confused and inconsistent during her interviews with the law enforcement, was booked in the Ada County Jail. Her mugshot apparently confirmed the officer's description of her mental state at the time, as Espinosa displayed a wide smile in spite of her serious charges. She faced 2 felony counts of assault or battery on a police officer and a misdemeanor count of resisting and obstructing. Number 7. Jeremy Dole Navado. Florida teen Ferron Williams was sitting on the porch of a house in Ocala while using the Wi-Fi of a nearby Hardee's restaurant on January the 27th of 2022. A gunman came up to Williams from the roadway and shot him before fleeing. The 19-year-old, who had autism, ran away after being shot but ultimately collapsed on the sidewalk. Williams succumbed to his injuries and a murder investigation was launched, but it would take roughly 14 months for a suspect to be arrested. The police identified the shooter as 20-year-old Jeremy Dole Navado, but his connection with the victim wasn't specified. Navado was taken into custody by Ocala police in late March of 2023, and a video of his arrest would show the man smiling as he was placed in a cop car. Navado also smirked in his booking photo and had not entered a plea as of the latest updates on the matter. Number 5. Lindsay Evans. In the fall of 2008, Miss Teen Louisiana Lindsay Evans and 3 of her friends were at Posado's restaurant in Bossier City. Evans' friend, 22-year-old Jennifer Martin, would later claim that they were ready to pay their $46 bill but then decided to simply skip out on it because the service was so slow. 18-year-old Evans, however, forgot her purse and, in spite of leaving the restaurant without paying, went back to retrieve it. By then, the police had been called and were talking to the manager. Law enforcement recognized Evans from her driver's license when she returned to the establishment. They also found Xanax pills and a bag of marijuana, which meant that the team was also arrested for drug possession in addition to theft. True to her beauty queen title, Evans posed for her booking photo, which drew the attention of multiple media outlets, which subsequently covered her story. Number 4. Sarah Seawright. Following her arrest on April the 28th of 2016, Sarah Seawright's mugshot caused a stir on multiple social media platforms. Pulaski County court records indicated that she was taken into custody on a failure to appear warrant after skipping a court date related to a December 2014 arrest on charges of driving without insurance and careless driving. Seawright was dubbed Jailhouse Bay or Prison Bay, and comments from her online suitors ranged from offers to bail her out to marriage proposals. Data from the analytics website Keyhole indicated that the Prison Bay hashtag had reached an audience of over 2 million accounts within weeks of Seawright's arrest. The 24-year-old had been in trouble with the law in the past. On December the 10th of 2012, she'd offered a male acquaintance a ride in the parking lot of a Target store. Seawright drove the man around to the back of the store where her accomplice, Ladarius Laren Scales, was waiting. He held the victim at gunpoint, robbed him of $380 and struck him in the head. Seawright was charged with aggravated robbery, first-degree battery, kidnapping, hindering apprehension, and tampering with evidence. She ultimately pleaded guilty only to hindering apprehension and was given 5 years of probation. Scales was sentenced to 10 years in prison in the incident's wake. Number 3. Alisa Seguro Barrack. 18-year-old Alisa Seguro Barrack was arrested on drug charges by law enforcement in North Carolina in December of 2014 and subsequently uploaded her mugshot on Twitter, where it was rapidly shared thousands of times. Barrack claimed in her post that she'd surrendered to the police and was released within hours, implying that other rumors about her arrest were false before ending the post with, "And my mugshot's cute." Numerous users asked about the reason for her arrest, and Barrack replied to one of them, "Xanax, homie," adding that she'd been caught because her ex-boyfriend had told on her. The cute mugshot girl, as the 18-year-old came to be known, was arrested for shoplifting in Raleigh only 2 months after the drug arrest, resulting in another mugshot that was similar to her previous one. Number 2. Lorena Tavera. In the summer of 2011, beauty queen Lorena Tavera was arrested on suspicion of shoplifting at a mall in El Paso, Texas. 21-year-old Tavera had won the Miss El Paso Teen USA in 2006 and 2 years later became Miss El Paso USA. Later on, she found work as an instructor for a local modeling agency. Her August 5th arrest reportedly stemmed from her trying to walk out of a Dillard's department store with a $69 shirt for which she hadn't paid. She was confronted by employees who waited with her until the police arrived at the scene. Tavera faced the charge of theft of an item over $50 but under $500. Speaking of her arrest, the beauty queen was quoted by a Channel 9 KTSM reporter as saying that the details about the incident were misconstrued. Tavera also had 2 outstanding traffic warrants, according to the El Paso Times. Number 1. Jeremy Meeks. In June of 2014, several men were arrested in California during a multi-agency gang sweep called Operation Ceasefire. Among those taken into custody was Jeremy Meeks, a member of the Crips gang, who was at the time in his early 30s. His mugshot was posted on the Facebook page of the Stockton Police Department, and within 24 hours, it generated over 15,000 likes and thousands of comments. The bulk of the attention came from women smitten by Meeks' looks. He became known as the Hot Felon, and his fulminant internet fame paralleled his legal troubles. On February the 5th, Meeks was convicted in a federal court of being a felon in possession of a firearm. The following month, White Cross Management announced that they'd signed Meeks. His modeling career, however, would be placed on hold as he was sentenced to 27 months in prison, of which he served less than half before being released in June of 2016. The following year, Meeks made his runway debut and walked for Philip Plein during New York Fashion Week. His modeling career continued to grow and came to include several more collaborations with Philip Plein as well as Tommy Hilfiger and other brands. He appeared on a number of magazine covers, took part in successful product campaigns, and started working as an actor. In September of 2019, Frankfurt-based fashion company Fashion Concept GmbH announced a $15 million deal with Meeks to produce a fashion line in his name. In the spring of 2023, Meeks told the media that he was working with a writer on a memoir about his rise to prominence from a rough background. He claimed the book would touch upon several harsh realities of his life, including growing up with a heroin-addicted mother and father who'd brutally murdered a family friend. The memoir would also delve into his affiliations with gangs, being shot 5 times, and the arrest that inadvertently led to his success. Thanks for watching. Would you want to get famous from your mugshot and have a chance to launch a modeling career if it meant spending a year in prison? Let us know in the comments section below.